What's up, you guys? It's Jason from RPM, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Billet V2 blow-off valve for the Kawasaki H2 platform. Jumping straight to it, one of the most important things is how we reference vacuum pressure for our blow-off valve compared to the factory one. And that is very important because our blow-off valve, routed the way that we want you to route it for vacuum reference, it creates drastically better throttle response. And the factory blow-off valve, it has its flaws. One of them being that it's not adjustable. Wherever it bolts in, that's where it sits. So on a factory car, it's sitting something like this. If you remove that hose because you want to vent to atmosphere, you're gonna be, kind of introducing some debris to the blow-off valve. Our blow-off valve can mount in any direction, wherever you want. And of course, the V2 Bove, the reference line can be in any direction also. We include a filter for it. We really don't recommend the filter unless you want to reduce the amount of noise. If not, just point it down, let the blow-off valve expel the atmosphere. We include a cap for your factory return hose for the blow-off valve. We also include a plug so you can remove the hose completely and cap the intake system. Get that hose out of your way. Makes for a nice, clean engine bay look. The first thing we're gonna do is remove this back panel. It's held in by some factory plastic rivets. Pull them out. For our video, we are gonna remove the bed just because I want you guys to be able to see what we're working on and have a good understanding of what's going on here. All right, guys, so first thing we're gonna do is go over the contents of the blow-off valve. The blow-off valve is this, essentially. The important thing is that this O-ring is there when you install it. We do include some silicone grease. I like to swipe that on there real fast, and that gets it ready for installation. Other things that are gonna be in the box are the plug. The plug is for if you're going to just cap this hose and leave the hose. It's not the method I prefer, but it definitely works. What I prefer is to remove the hose completely from the blow-off valve and from the port on the front of this charge tube on the intake. So the tube isn't essentially on this charge tube, it's just in front of it. And then we cap it using this rubber plug. That's how I prefer to install this, but we do offer multiple ways. The filter is not required. It acts mostly as a muffler on the blow-off valve. Some guys don't like that loud noise. You can put this on the end of the blow-off valve, point the blow-off valve downward, and run it that way. The 2 extra springs are never for performance. These only dictate the sound of your blow-off valve. If you run more boost, a different tune, you do not need to change your blow-off valve. It only changes the sound. In this kit for the H2 includes the soft spring installed, and that's the OEM style spring or OEM vacuum pressurized spring. That's what we prefer to use. This bag will have the boost reference line, and we will show you where to use that and how to plumb it. You got a couple clamps for depending on how you're going to plug or clamp off your blow-off valve or the filter. One can be used on the filter. Also in this bag is Loctite. We will use that on the factory bolts to install and remove once we remove the factory blow-off valve. We have a couple O-rings and a couple small O-rings. Those O-rings are just if you were ever to need to replace any damaged O-rings in your blow-off valve kit. Should never have to do that. These are pretty low maintenance. You can go, probably every bit of 25,000 miles without ever having to take this thing apart. That's the contents of the blow-off valve kit. Let's jump into getting this factory stuff off and this RPM V2 Billet blow-off valve installed. All right, guys, first thing we're gonna do is loosen this worm gear clamp. Yours may have a spring. You just pinch with some pliers, slide it off there. If you have the worm gear clamp version, loosen it, get it out of there. And then, again, I like to remove this hose completely. We're gonna go down to the intake plenum, either remove this charge tube, or if you kind of get creative, you can come from behind the intake and you can pinch the clamp, slide it up, and get this factory hose out of there. Then we're gonna come over, we're gonna disconnect this reference line from the top of the blow-off valve, get it out of there, then 2 10mm bolts, one here, one here. Between the intake and the blow-off valve is a factory gasket. The factory gasket is gonna look something like this. We're gonna remove it and make sure we have a clean surface. You're not gonna need the factory gasket for the RPM Billet blow-off valve because we use an O-ring to seal it. All right, guys, we've got the factory hose out of there. We got the factory blow-off valve, both bolts. We're gonna reuse these. And the factory gaskets out of there, the clamps, everything's cleaned up. What we're gonna do now is get the RPM blow-off valve installed. We're gonna put the Loctite that's included, the blue Loctite, one little drip on each of these. Get it mounted up there. I'm gonna mount our blow-off valve downward. No filter for us, just the way we're running it. We're kind of going for that noise on ours, so if you're not, you can recirculate it or you can put the filter on it, whatever you want. It's all personal preference. Guys, trying to keep this surface clean, make sure we're not blowing any dirt to the intake. We got that. We're gonna open up our bag here, do a little drop of Loctite. Don't need much. We're gonna take the silicone lubricant, a little dash on our finger here, dab it around this O-ring. All right, guys, the factory torque spec for these two 10mm bolts is 18 foot-pounds. Once you have this kind of a line where you think you want it, go ahead and torque those down, and we're gonna move on to the next step. All right, guys, so we're gonna drop to the bottom of the intake. We're gonna put that rubber cap on where we remove the hose, get it tightened down, and we'll come back up here and do some vacuum lines. All right, guys, so this is the most important part. You can hook the factory blow-off valve up to the factory vent line, just like this if you want. But there's a way to get even better throttle response, and that is eliminating this valve from operating the blow-off valve itself and allowing vacuum pressure after the throttle blades to do that. To do it the way I like to do it is gonna be this next step. We're going to remove this clamp, and then we're gonna remove this hose. We're then gonna take this line and size it up to about how long it needs to be. We're gonna take this factory clamp, put it on here, and we're gonna simply cap this. Then we're gonna get this hose out of here and run our own RPM hose from the bottom back up to the blow-off valve. It's this hose down here. Hopefully you can see that. Push it out of the way. You can just simply follow this hose down to where it tees into the throttle bodies, hold the hose, and pull it. Like so. All right, we're gonna tie the supplied RPM vacuum line from this tee back through this, around here, into the blow-off valve itself. I like to route it through there. Over here, we're gonna kind of size up how much slack we need, mark it. Doesn't have to be exact, and you can leave some slack in there, no big deal. All right, guys, so I like to take some of the silicone grease, put it on this barred port, and push it on there because it's a pretty tight fit. It helps it go on a little easier. And as you can see, you can put your boost reference line any direction you want. Kind of just get it situated up just like that, and that's that. This allows for much better blow-off valve response when you're getting direct a vacuum signal from the motor, rather than requiring that pressure solenoid to activate the blow-off valve. All right, guys, you've got your RPM V2 blow-off valve installed in your H2. It's time to fire the machine up. Let's hear it. All right, guys, here at the end, we're gonna go over a couple common concerns and questions that we get a lot. The springs for the blow-off valve, they only dictate the sound. No matter what tune or how high of boost you have, vacuum pressure, positive or negative, is what operates a blow-off valve. You could technically remove your spring completely and a blow-off valve will operate exactly how it should. Cruising, if you hear some air leaking or hissing while you're cruising, that's completely normal. Doesn't mean you're in boost, it just means that the vacuum pressure is negative, it's lifting the valve, it's what the motor wants. Let it do its thing. It's completely fine. It's completely normal. Oil. Guys who don't run catch cans, it's more likely that you will have a little oil in your intake system. The blow-off valve is just simply exposing that oil. So you might get some oil that blows out or builds up on your filter. Again, it's completely normal. We suggest you guys run an RPM catch can on these. But if you see a little bit of oil, it's nothing to be concerned about. Wipe it off, continue on. As far as which spring to use for the most noise, we like to use the soft spring. It's gonna probably be the most active noise. It's softer, the blow-off valve tone lasts longer, it's a little chirpier, it's great. If you don't wanna hear it as much, put the filter on it, run the heavier spring, you'll be good. One thing to keep in mind with the Kawasaki H2 is that this is a gear-driven supercharger, and that means that it can be in boost at weird times. It can cause weird lags in the blow-off valve or the charge system. Just because you let off the gas doesn't mean that the motor has reduced enough RPM to release boost pressure. The blow-off valve won't activate until it sees negative vacuum pressure greater than the spring pressure. Big thing on the H2 guys, some guys love it, some guys hate it. The supercharger flutter is not controlled by the blow-off valve. So if you're hearing supercharger air compression noises in the intake system, this isn't gonna get rid of them, and it's not gonna make them any louder or better, none of that. You're just gonna hear the blow-off valve that was normally recirculated on the factory machine, which we prefer, a lot of guys prefer. And we prefer that supercharger noise as well. So it's kind of the nature of the beast on these machines. All right, guys, if you liked what you saw, and you're trying to pick up a Kawasaki H2 blow-off valve from RPM, you can pick them up, rpmsidebyside.com.